Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Development Control Committee for the consideration of planning applications. I'll just start with some brief housekeeping measures. So, fire evacuation procedures. In the event of the fire alarm sounding, there are no fire alarms scheduled for this evening. So, therefore, if the fire alarm does sound, please evacuate the building as soon as you can by the nearest available exit. So there's one at the back and there's two either side of me. Go down the stairs and the muster point is in the Moore Memorial Park. So we'll meet in the Moore Memorial Park and have a brief roll call to make sure nobody's got burnt. This meeting is webcast, so it's being broadcast live on the internet. Also, a quick plea on mobile phones. If you could please have your mobile phones either switched off or turned to silent, that would be very much appreciated. The Development Control Committee is a quasi-judicial committee consisting of the councillors in front of me and to my right. The decisions that are going to be made tonight are based on planning law and are not political decisions. Decisions are based on weighing up of material considerations based on local planning policies in the local plan or in neighbourhood plans produced by parish councils, or the national planning policy framework which offers guidance to all planning matters across the country. To my left are planning officers. These are the technical experts in planning matters, and also we've got democratic service officers to help the meeting run more smoothly. And to my right, we've got legal, who will make sure that while some of our decisions may not be popular, they won't be illegal. And just a quick plea to those in front of us tonight on the council benches. It's a bit like playing that game on Radio 4. We'll try and minimise hesitation, deviation and repetition. If somebody has said something you want to say, you can always just say that point's already been made by Councillor X or Y, and that might help speed things up a bit. In the event that there are not questions asked, that doesn't necessarily mean the questions have not been asked previously of officers prior to the meeting, or indeed at the viewing panel that was held Friday last week. Without further ado, we'll start the meeting. And firstly, apologies. So I have Councillor Robinson without substitute, Councillor Freeman without substitute, and Councillor Johnston standing in for Councillor Hussey. Don't think there are any more apologies. Okay, good. Any declarations of interest? Councillor Bound.
On item number 7, Papine Borkhurst Road, I'm opting out of the discussion and the vote, having made a comment prior to my becoming a councillor, but basically it hasn't changed.
Thank you for that. We'll make a note of that, duly noted. Item 3, any urgent matters for the information to committee?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just for information, there was a new version of the National Planning Policy Framework published just yesterday. That effectively made minor amendments, if I can draw members' attention to the top of page 3 of the update paper, mainly in relation to onshore wind farms. The amendments to the NPPF upon review don't have any impact on the assessment or the recommendations within all of the agenda items before you this evening.
Right, thank you very much. So the next item is minutes of the last meeting, which can be considered for accuracy only. Do we have a mover for the minutes? Councillor Miller, and seconder Councillor Durham. So we're all agreed the minutes are accurate. Excellent. I'll sign them off at the end of the meeting then. So, next item, applications for planning permission and public participation thereon. And the first item up is 2203-203 full land between the junction of Winchester Road and Harts Lane in Berkeley. If I could have the officer introduction, please.
So this is a full planning application for the erection of 17 dwellings and an office building, which include an area of open space, parking, landscaping and access with other associated works along Harts Lane. The office building would be 2 storeys and positioned to the northeast corner of the site. To the south of that would be open space and a new access. The dwellings would be arranged around the crescent on the western edge and to the west of the office space. The dwellings are a mix of 1, 2, 3 and 4 beds and would all be 2 storeys in height. The site's allocated for development for at least 15 homes within policy B2 of the Berkeley neighbourhood plan and lies within its settlement boundary. The access for the development is also stipulated to be on Harts Lane within the neighbourhood plan policy, which is criterion 8 of that policy. It's also worth noting that the plan was updated in May 2023 and therefore holds significant weight in determining this proposal. In terms of an update, there are a couple of inaccuracies within the report, such as approval number 2 referring to the Oakley and Dean neighbourhood plan, which should read as the Berkeley neighbourhood plan. Page 53 of the agenda also refers to a pre-application, however this is clearly full planning application. With regards to a verbal update, we've added a condition on to restrict the use of the office space to that use only. The application is recommended for approval subject to the completion of a legal agreement to secure affordable housing, contributions towards open space and play equipment, and the off-site securement of biodiversity net gain land to include a biodiversity enhancement management plan. There's also conditions listed on in the agenda on pages 73 to 82. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think the first speaker tonight is from the Parish Council, Alex Patrick Smith. If you'd like to approach the desks to your right there at the top row. And if you push the button to your right by the mic, and when you start speaking, you've got 4 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This application is a consequence of our neighbourhood plan and we support it. However, some matters still merit consideration. Firstly, visitor parking. Only 5 spaces for 17 houses have been included. This is insufficient. Our experience of 2 recent developments in the village is that visiting cars will park on Harts Lane. It is the main thoroughfare and feeds 4 schools in the village, Sandon Memorial Chapel, the Carpenter's Arms and Sports Club. That's a lot of cars and buses on top of residents and tradesmen. More spaces and mitigation in the form of no parking lines and signs are needed. Access, second point. We ask that an alternative entrance on the Winchester Road be considered. The developer did so and concluded due to the sight lines needed, significant hedgerow cutback would be necessary. This is valid, but it was done using the 60-mile-an-hour speed limit. If the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit were to be extended beyond the neighbouring light industrial estate, the cutback would be much less. Our criticism is that we haven't had the opportunity to look at that. Thirdly, drainage. The developer has proposed a SUD solution, taking water into an underground tank for soakaway purposes, but not all drainage tests were completed. Part of the site has poor infiltration potential, and in one test site, the water level rose. The water table, when wet, is very high. If the attenuation tank can't cope, surface water runoff will drain into a foul water sewer close to the current entrance gate. But we already have regular pollution overflows on Wells Street on the north side of the village, next to Thames Water's pumping station. We've collected evidence of these since 2019, and this year we've had to date 8 flooding pollution incidents, incidentally in the stream at the bottom of my garden. This plan risks exacerbating this problem, even though it's not one directly of the developer's making. The local flood authority consultee have indicated that surface water and foul drainage assessments requires further investigation. Also, pressure needs to be placed on Thames Water now to address not only the current problem, but also the likelihood of getting much worse, and we ask that a condition be placed on this aspect. Fourth point, We understand plans for Section 106 funds will be allocated to the recently refurbished village play area. We strongly believe there is a need for on-site recreation and that a proportion of these funds should provide play equipment for this site. On a broader note, the Parish Council is frustrated that insufficient progress has been made by the Borough Council towards meeting the legally binding national targets of net carbon zero 2050. Net carbon zero must be more than an ambition. No doubt these houses will be well built, but they will still need expensive and disruptive retrofits to ensure they meet new energy efficiency standards and low space heating demands.
1 minute left.
DLUHC guidance now permits LPAs to set energy standards, and these may exceed building regulations. Getting it right from the start is the principal message from South Oxfordshire's Net Carbon Toolkit. We invite both the developer and LPA to consider the implications of net carbon zero construction and take the opportunity to develop a housing scheme fit for the 21st century on this site, which minimises energy use and seeks to optimise energy efficiency through building fabric and carefully considered design, orientation and innovation. This would be arguably the single most important benefit this development will bring to the local community and will be an example for others to emulate in the borough. We note it's an ambition in the LPU. Our message would be, let's start now. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for your contribution. Do I have any questions from councillors? Councillor Rattigan?
Yeah, obviously it's just a newly made neighbourhood plan. I believe that it went to referendum on the basis of the access on Harts Lane, is that correct?
I believe that probably was the way that it was put forward in the neighbourhood plan.
Okay, no other questions. If you'd like to press the button to turn the mic off, that'd be great. Thank you very much. And so next speaker we have down is Tony Garland. Welcome to Development Control. Press the button on the right. When you're ready, you'll have 4 minutes, and you might be able to see there's a traffic light system. So amber's got 1 minute and red means no minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the opportunity for allowing the Harts Lane Residents Association to speak to you. We're here this evening not to object to this development, but to ask you to really look very hard at the access onto Harts Lane. We feel there is an opportunity for this access to become just a pedestrian access, whereas the main access could be on the old Winchester Road. And all that can be done by... During your site visit the other day, you will have noticed that to the right of the exit, there's an old exit, which up and down Harts Lane, and TWE put their access onto the old Winchester Road, sensibly so. Schools. Double-decker buses, coaches, ladies with their 4x4s and children into Harts Lane, coming out of the high clear car. However, whatever the developer's done with their statistics don't meet with what we feel in Harts Lane. They have spoken to us saying how dangerous that area would be. So I put it and dangerous. Whereas an access onto the old Winchester Road, very clear alternative. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Next speaker. Welcome to Development Control. When you're ready.
To speak in support of this scheme on behalf of my client Orchard Homes, who are all members tonight, is as described within the committee report for 17 dwellings comprising 1-2 face of 150 square metres and public open space. The scheme meets with all officers to develop a scheme that would meet with their support, inevitably in accordance with point 9 of policy B2 of the neighbourhood plan. To the site within the 85% quartile. Orchard Homes have always kept a very open mind in regards to the access and to need to remove nearly half the protected hedge in conflict with criteria 5 only be approved by the Highway Authority and would only occur where there is a proven accident history on the road. Drainage. The scheme has been submitted with a full drainage strategy and the character of Berkeley. The plans show a varied palette of materials and forms. With respect to the impact on biodiversity, this impact has been fully mitigated. This brief synopsis is of use to members and demonstrates Orchard Home's commitment to the development allocated site favourably. Many thanks.
Thank you, Chair. There's a number of points that were raised by grey water retrieval on the site. Yourself.
So I think there was a couple of iterations before the LLFA would equate to about 5 litres a second, so the runoff wouldn't ever be.
Further to the points raised earlier, visitors can park on my drive in the family.
Yes, there were in not necessarily allocated spaces, and the scheme does obviously whether there be any sort of overflow at potential times.
We were given to understand to achieve the required splays. Now, it's all very well, you can cut it back to satisfaction when it all grows back. Who carries the responsibility? Everybody says, nothing to do with me. But it was pretty scary, and we were standing off the road. You can do it initially, and it's all cut back, and it's all hunky-dory. It's fine.
Be part of the management company that would effectively manage the operation of the site. So, look to provide safe and secure access.
That situation has been addressed many times before.
Okay. Any other questions while we're here?
Notwithstanding what I have just said of neighbourhood plans, I think that the best thing that have occurred, Basingstoke indeed actually call your attention to condition 15 to start with. It's 2 conditions I've got a question on. Brought into use until the footway and uncontrolled pedestrian crossing on Harts Lane as shown in the crossing across Harts Lane from the site.
Site plan. And it's just to connect the pathway to the opposite side of the road. You know where we were stood on the site but that was at the recommendation of the Highways Authority.
Yes, I've seen recommendations from the Highways, an uncontrolled crossing from a development of 17 houses with families. That too.
Okay.
I raised the problem because I think personally, I think an uncontrolled crossing on that particular place. Lighting scheme. Now, I have had a problem in my own ward where lighting schemes have been by the county council. There's no mention in here that they're going to be lighting. I understand and insist that it's the lighting to a standard that is defined in here because ward councillors tear their hair out when they try and get
Addition through our biodiversity officer who would review that in accordance with. Yeah, so then we can have discussions of that if that's not.
by the